Hello everyone, this is Gage from Gondorian Smith, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a rather interesting situation. So this one is in fact a kind of a new thing that I might be making kind of in the future. This is actually an ambush battle where we have one caravan, for lack of a better term, of Umbar that is about to be attacked by two armies of Eridor. And obviously as these two armies of Eridor are supposed to be like bandit armies because they are ambushing, we were only allowed low to mid-tier stuff of the Free Peoples of Eriador faction, so you won't be seeing anything like the Forward Shell level or any like battle ready Dudendane or anything. Also no cav. That was also a rule for us as the bandits. We were not allowed any cav. So the rule for Eriador, if you happen to know kind of their roster, we were allowed anything to take anything on the top row of their roster of units, and a couple units here and there like the bandit javelins and some of the woodland hunters. So the three players involved were myself commanding one of the bandit armies, and my ally was Dark Elven King over here. You can see him deployed on this right flank. And then the caravan was being commanded by Archangel, who is obviously playing as Umbar. He definitely went for a very, very elite army, as you can see. We gave him a lot more money than us, because obviously we have the advantage in numbers by far. So he brought pretty much two of every single most elite unit that you can bring as Umbar. So definitely a fearsome army indeed. Also, he was allowed to bring 2 units of cav, but as Umbar is rather lacking in cav, he was only able to bring 1 unit of warlords of Umbar and 1 unit of merchants. Merchants are not bad, but like when supported, but they do have relatively low morale. That's the main problem with all merchant units, as well as they don't have great stats because their main thing about them is they do have 76 of them in 1 unit. So anyway, the only rules besides the actual like what we could bring as the bandits was that we had to allow Archangel 1 minute time to set up kind of a defensive area. So kind of like maybe he had a few scouts out here in the forest and he managed to see these 2 massive armies of bandits about to attack this caravan. And besides that, the only rule was if both of our generals died, well, if my general died, I had to admit defeat, and if Dark Elven King's general died, then he would have to admit defeat. And because there is really no thing that we can like no actual like merchandise or like supplies that we can actually take in this game just because of how it's set up, the kind of like what we were supposed to do was kill the general, because then that kind of like represented us like taking all of the supplies and actually killing the leader, which would most likely break the morale of his army. So you will see what happens later in the battle. But yes, also as the Free Peoples of Eriador, especially their low mid-tier stuff, has great issues with morale. You will see a lot of breaking units that have relatively high numbers left. So anyway, we will now get into the army comps, starting off with my own. So I have 1 unit of Black Wolves, which is my general. Not super high stats. They have like 20 attack, 10 defense, but their main thing is they are AP. Of course, they're huge, almost stone-looking axes. And they also have 2 hit points. I also have 2 units of Thieves of Tharbad. They can hide anywhere. Pretty decent attack and defense values. Also have hit points. I have 3 units of Lumbermen, who are an okay low-tier shock infantry unit. They will be pretty important, though, because Umbar does, of course, have a very heavily armored units. 2 units of Bandits, more to kind of just pad out my army than anything. Definitely not very great stats. They can't hide anywhere, and the main thing about them is they do have a lot of them in the unit. I also have 2 units of Bandit Ambushers, slightly better attack and defense values than the Bandits, but obviously way less in number. Although, in retrospect, I probably should have just gone for a more numbers approach, because the slightly better attack and defense values didn't really help me out too much in this battle. More than anything, it probably would have been better had I brought more units of bandits. But yeah, 2 units of bandit ambushers is what I also have. I also have, for my main infantry, I have 5 units of Cardelin footmen. Obviously, their main problem is getting shot to death by arrows, because they are pikemen with no shields and can get pretty lasered instantaneously by of course, the elite archer units that Archangel is bringing. You can see him slightly over there. But even though they will do the job slowly, they can get the job done in terms of killing elites, especially because they are pikes. Then they can do a pretty good job of keeping them away, and paired with the Lumbermen, they will do pretty decently well. I also have 2 units of woodland hunters. Really not that high tier. Well, really not that great of archers. I believe they have like only 7 attack, but they can put down a lot of arrows in fairly relatively quick time, just because of how many there are in number in the unit. So I have 2 of them. And I also have 3 units of bandit javelins. I actually don't know where I put them. Yeah, 3 units of bandit javelins. Oh yeah, here they are. the limit for javelins in this game was 3, and the archer limit was 2, and the cav limit for Umbar was 2. But the main thing about these bandit javelins is, well, yeah, they're definitely going to be the main killing power of both my and Dark Elven King's armies, because they do have like that, I think it's like 14 or 17 missile damage. Obviously not great in melee, but their wooden looking javelins can definitely do damage, especially to the shock infantry units that Archangel has brought. The limit actually was 2 before the price increase, so I actually did have to suffer a little bit in terms of my infantry by bringing that 3rd unit of javelins, which was actually more costly than I thought it would have been. Anyway, we will now go over here to Dark Elven King's army. His general unit is also a unit of Black Wolves. I already explained them. 2 units of bandits, 2 units of thieves of Darbad, 2 units of merchant militia. These guys actually don't have too terrible stats, however, like I said before, their main problem is, of course, morale. He also has 3 units of lumbermen, nice shock infantry. Well, not nice, but good for this situation. 2 units of bandit ambushers, 4 units of Carlin footmen. I think I already said 2 units of thieves of Darbad. And then he has 2 units of javelins, as well as 2 units of woodland hunters. So definitely very similar armies from both me and Dark Elven King. But that's no surprise, because we were limited to bringing only certain units. Anyway, so Archangel is bringing 1 unit of merchants, 1 unit of warlords of Umbar, 1 unit of Naru and Aru royal archers, 1 unit of Castamir's rangers, which are hidden right here. Also 1 unit of I believe they're called Corsair Blackguards. Yes, that's the javelin unit. They have well, they're a javelin unit, so they have really crazy missile damage. Obviously, not very good range. And also, they are not bad in melee because they do have hit points and pretty dang high attack and defense values because they do have 2 swords and rather than just 1 and like a shield or something. He also has 2 units of Harbingers of Castamere. 1 of them is where his general is. You can actually see the general right there. 2 units of Corsair Fencers, which are nice. Another nice shock infantry. Well, I don't know if they're really classed as shock infantry unit, but they're definitely a melee-focused unit because they do not have shields, which means they are susceptible to arrow fire. However, as our archers are very low tier, they won't be able to do very much damage. Their main nuisance in this battle is definitely going to be our javelins. He also has 1 unit of Naru and Naru Royal Guard. Not super great attack because they are spearmen, but they can definitely hold a line, and they are very elite at that. 2 units of Abrazenim Narduturik, which are AP, have multiple hit points. The AP won't really be doing them any good in this battle because all of our armies are very lightly armored. However, their pretty decent attack and defense values will serve them well. Also has 2 units of Castamir's Chosen, pretty much the sword and shield variant of these Harbingers of Castamere. And then back here, you can see 2 units of Abrazenim Narduzagar, very deadly shock infantry unit. Not AP, but that doesn't matter because we don't have any heavily armored units at all. And then back here, he also has his last unit of Harbingers of Castamere. So without any further ado, we will get straight into the battle. There was actually kind of something rather strange that happened at the beginning, because we weren't allowed to start until the 1 minute was over, but Archangel hadn't realized that I started the timer. So I'll just speed this up a little until he actually does begin to move his forces. Yeah, so you can see on the map there, both my forces and Dark Elven Kings are not moving. Okay, so then 1 minute has begun for real this time. Archangel is going to pretty much immediately form a square, which in this situation I don't blame him because I think he only has like 11 or 12 units total on the army, or well, on the field, which means he'd be very easily overwhelmed had he tried to set up a main actual battle line. So I really don't blame him at all for setting up this box formation, where you can see his warlords of Umbar and merchants moving over towards Dark Elven King, trying to buy his troops some time to set up their square formation. Over here, though, you can see my horde of bandits are all pretty much all in loose formation and moving forward as quickly as they can. I definitely wanted to get my archers firing as quickly as possible. Over here, though, you can see Dark Elven King's forces moving up. Luckily for me, actually, the cavalry did go after Dark Elven King rather than my army, because my army was all in loose formation, because I was able to deploy rather closer to Archangel than Dark Elven King. So I was definitely happy that he decided to move his cavalry over towards my ally rather than my army. It looks like they're stopping right about here. Probably, I assume they're going to try to charge into the sides of either the bandit javelins or those archers. Yeah, you can see you can see my massive bandit army just moving through the trees right now. I am going to leave my black wolves in the forest for quite some time because, of course, I do not want my general to die early on, because that means I would have to admit defeat, which pretty much would leave Dark Elven King to just get butchered. You can't see my woodland hunters firing now. Luckily for me, though, he is returning fire rather than going for my infantry, because my infantry would have fared very, very badly had he decided to go for my infantry rather than my archers, but I'm perfectly okay with him firing at my archers. My Thieves of Tharbad and Bandit Ambushers are first in the line, charging right into those Casimir's Chosen. The Thieves of Tharbad, they're not terrible. They are pretty good, but unfortunately I was not able to support them super quickly, so I did try to charge them out before they took too many casualties just because they weren't supported. Ooh, you can see a nice charge into the flank of my bandits by those warlords of Umbar. Taking about like 20 or so right there. I am trying to use my Carlin Footmen, though, just to kind of ward them off. Like, if I can set up a main battle line and then put Carlin Footmen behind them facing the other way to kind of keep the warlords of Umbar away from my actual main infantry line. You can see some Carlin Footmen marching in. As well, back there you can see some bandit javelins. Early on in the battle, I definitely was focusing my bandit javelins almost entirely upon these warlords of Umbar, because I knew that because all of these units have pretty crazy issues with morale, that if he got to cycle charge even once or twice, it would really be super devastating to my army. You can see that these bandits are already shaken. The lumbermen are also in the battle, but they are still steady. My bandit javelins are actually taking pretty bad casualties to the archers. Okay, you can also see the merchants actually moving around over here, trying to go after my bandit javelins, but unfortunately for them, they do get absolutely murdered by my javelins. See my Carlin Footmen engaging on the other flank. I'm trying to pretty much engage entirely half of the square just because I want to try to spread his lines out as thin as possible. Oh yes, they did get a volley off both of those units, pretty much wiping out that unit of merchants. That unit was at 76, now all the way down to 23 after just 2 volleys. Unfortunately, though, my bandits will take quite a few losses because they obviously are not good at all in melee. I will be able to support them, though, relatively quickly and deal with the rest of those merchants. Over here, though, you can see the warlords of Umbar are charging actually straight into my Carlin Footmen, and you will see that this really will kind of come back to bite Archangel, because he did lose quite a few of that very expensive cavalry unit right there, and I was perfectly fine with that because this Carlin Footman unit, it was only like 450 of them, and as you saw from my army composition, I brought 5 units, so it was definitely fine by me. You can see my my Carlin Footman fighting against the Aberzenim Narduderik, and you can see that Dark Elven King is beginning to march in. You can see he's got some Thieves of Tharbad going after these Corsair Blackguards, because Archangel was trying to bring them around to throw javelins into the sides of my Carlin Footmen, which you can see definitely did a lot of damage. You can see that the merchants have been routed. There's only 4 of them left, and it does allow me to bring forward my 1 unit of bandit javelins. My other ones I'm going to try to keep back. Actually, I take it back. I'm going to bring forward 2. My most healthy unit of bandit javelins, however, I am going to keep back in the trees for some time. Yes, so as you can see, I'm definitely going for these Harbingers of Casimir first. Surprisingly, these Casimir's Chosen are falling relatively quickly to my main assault right here. The Narunar Royal Guard are definitely faring much better, as well as these Aberzenim Narduderik. But yeah, I'm definitely focusing down these Harbingers of Casimir as much as possible, not only because it is the general's unit, but also because they are definitely super deadly in melee. You can see some bandits coming back from routing. And over here you can see my Carlin Footmen are still trying to chase down not only the Corsair Blackguards, but still the warlords of Umbar, who are somewhere back there. No, they're right here. I take it back. So I was going to engage these Aberzenim Narduzigar, but I was like, actually, probably should worry about these warlords of Umbar, who... that was really bad for me, because my Carlin Footmen were not in formation. They took a lot of casualties and routed. Fortunately, though, they do come back because there are still 60 men in the unit, but they don't come back for quite some time, which was rather unfortunate. You can see Archangel has now committed 1 unit of his Harbingers of Castamere on this flank, and his general's unit he has committed over here, because Dark Elven King is definitely doing a very good job with his javelins, absolutely butchering those poor Corsairs with his missile troops. You can see my bandit javelins are still firing at those harbingers of Castamere. And over here, actually, a couple of my bandits were actually able to break through, very surprisingly. Poor Dark Elven King's thieves of Tharbad, though, are getting absolutely butchered by those warlords of Umbar. However, Dark Elven King is completely ready for this, throwing his javelins right into the flank of those warlords of Umbar, who took about 5 or 6 more casualties from that alone. So he is actually, Archangel is going to recommit his other unit of Harbingers of Castamere again over on this side. As you can see, a massive push is coming right here from Dark Elven King's infantry. Over here, though, you can see he's got pretty much nothing left, though. His Castamire's chosen are only, there's only 10 left in that unit. His Naru and Aru Railguard are still holding strong, and that definitely did not help me. Another big break from my Carlin footmen by those warlords of Umbar charging into their back. You can see, though, that these Carlin footmen have come back from routing. I'm trying to get my bandit javelins over here to throw their javelins before they... Yep, look, my lumbermen are wavering. And that unit of 145 just broke because of that flanking charge from those warlords. However, you can see that that definitely put them in position to get butchered by my bandit javelins. The warlords of Umbar are now down to 10. You can see a massive break from pretty much all of my infantry, just pretty much taking away all of my progress that I had made. There are only 4 warlords of Umbar, though, which is still very good. And fortunately, because my units here did have so many units left in the so many troops left in the unit, they do come back, but unfortunately not for quite some time. And I am starting to focus my archers into the backs of this Abrazan and Narduzagar. This other unit, though, is taking absolutely horrendous casualties from the bandit javelins of Dark Elven King. You can see that these Corsair Blackguards, though, are in a perfect position to throw their javelins. I believe they just ran out of javelins, though. You can see those lumbermen just taking absolute beating from them. Yes, so he is going to now commit them into melee, which they will do very well in. I'm trying to focus down that single warlord of Umbar with my archers, but unfortunately for me, that does not work out too well. Okay, so Archangel does now realize that he is actually obviously has no threat over here on this other flank, so he is going to commit some units over on this side where he is definitely starting to thin out, and also he's just trying to make his box a little bit smaller because, as you can see from over here, this area is definitely looking very weak for him. So he did actually have to make his box more into a rectangle. You see his Naru and Aru Railguard being committed over here to this area where Dark Elven King's infantry is. You have 152 merchant militia just routed. So if Archangel wants to win, he definitely needs to keep trying to route as many troops as possible. Which is helped by the fact that the units like the Harbingers of Castamere do have the chanting ability, which not only boosts the morale of their own troops, but also demoralizes, I don't know if that's a word, intimidates the enemy forces. Luckily for us, though, the cavalry of Archangel is pretty much all but dealt with. The only thing he has left now is that one warlord of Umbar, who you will see later in the battle actually definitely pays off for his troops. He did a very good thing, very brave deed. Bandit javelins taking pretty large chunks out of these Harbingers of Castamere, firing the javelins right into the backs of them, as well as the Naru Railguard spearmen. And over here, though, you can see the archers of Dark Elven King are firing into the back of these Abrazan and Nardudarik, who are now being engaged in melee by my infantry, who have come back from routing. However, the main problem about my troops routing is when they rout, they take absolutely horrendous casualties when they're actually trying to disengage. So that was definitely that's definitely the worst thing about having routing troops. My archers are now out of ammo, though, so they are being committed to melee. However, they actually come out with axes rather than like daggers or something, which allows them to have AP in melee. And that was just absolutely crazy. The single warlord of Umbar just routed pretty much all of my troops right here. These Carlin footmen are actually were wavering, but now they're shaken, so they should be able to continue fighting. But that one warlord single-handedly routed both units of my woodland hunters as well as my lumbermen. Over here, though, it just really does not seem like there's enough. Archangel is having to commit his Abrazan and Narduzagar to the flank with Dark Elven King's horde of bandits that are still left. Yeah, it seems it seems pretty like a pretty dire situation, to be honest with you. Um, Especially because Dark Elven King is now committing his one unit of archers who are still super healthy. However, that one Warlord of Umbar was still going strong. He's actually causing these Carlin footmen to shake. However, I believe he will. Yes, there he goes. He did actually get killed. I don't know if he was actually the cause of these lumbermen of Dark Elven King's routing, but it could be. However, because Archangel did end up having to actually commit these Abrazanim Narduzagar over here, that does allow my infantry that's left to kind of sweep around this area, as well as opens up a excellent target for Dark Elven King's bandit javelins. You can see more infantry being committed right here. The Corsair Blackguards have taken quite a few casualties, but you can see they are still going strong in melee. Yes, now you can see more soldiers being pushed around the flanks, trying to sweep around the sides of these Abrazanim Narduzagar, who have actually been pulled back because there is a somewhat steady line right here, so I am charging in my Woodland Hunters into these Abrazanim Narduzagar. I don't know why, but I really love saying that, Abrazanim Narduzagar. I kind of like saying those names, even though they are pretty hard to pronounce, and I'm probably saying them completely wrong. It's just fun to say. Over here, though, the Narduturik are beginning to fall slowly but surely to my Carlin footmen. You can see more of my troops over here pushing forward, as well as some merchant militia of Dark Elven King. Definitely, though, I took a lot of casualties. I really don't have that much left in terms of infantry. I still have quite a bit of archers and a few units of Carlin footmen, but for the most part, I took a lot of losses. You can see the general unit of Black Wolves is marching in. Pretty much the only hope now for Archangel is if he can somehow kill one of our generals, which hopefully, for him anyway, it would be the general of Dark Elven King, so that if he can kill the general, then that would mean he would have to admit defeat, which would, of course, definitely make things look a lot better for Archangel. You can see these Abrazanim Narduzagar are actually charging out, trying to silence these bandit javelins, who, unless they run away quickly, will be cut down insanely fast by those Narduzagar. Over here, though, you can see that the jaws of our ambush are beginning to close fully. You can see right here, we are beginning to push through, and we will be able to surround these Narduzagar, Naru Royal Guard, and what's left of those Harbingers of Castamere. Surprisingly, though, there are like only a few scattered Harbingers of Castamere, but one of them, you can see him right here, there actually is the general of Archangel. I was very surprised that he hadn't died yet. Yes, you can see now it's pretty much over at this point. You can see that we are closing in and cutting down what's left of Archangel's forces. Yes, these Abrazanim Narduzagar are now engaged in melee against a very healthy unit of my lumbermen. And not only that, but they are getting javelined right in this side by some bandit javelins of Dark Elven King's forces. Yes, you can see that after being surrounded, those Harbingers really were cut down very quickly. The only thing he has left are 60 Abrazanim Narduzagar and then a few like very depleted units. But definitely, it was very cool because, I mean, just look at the massive bodies, and I'm sure if we were able to actually see under all these troops, there'd be even more. I know it's a little morbid, a little dark, but that's actually one of my favorite features of this game, is that the bodies actually do stay around. There's not a lot of video games that the bodies actually stay there. The main reason why I like that is just it kind of like gives a sense of like how actually massive these battles actually are. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. And it's definitely one of my favorite features of Medieval 2 Total War, and just Total War games in general. But yes, it is slightly morbid. See, the javelins are now firing into the backs of this unit of Abrazanim Narduzagar, who are dropping relatively quickly because they are surrounded. And yes, there goes the general to the horde of Carlin footmen. You can see Dark Elven King certainly has a lot left. And yes, he has now admitted defeat because his general has fallen. But yeah, even if he hadn't admitted defeat, it was pretty much over at this point. So Archangel getting 3,562 troops, kills. Also, we did not actually have this many troops remaining. That is included with the casualties healed. That we have that many. I really didn't have that many at all left. I had 713 kills, and Dark Elven King had 727 kills. It's actually, I'm good friends with him, and we actually have a long-standing feud about who gets more kills in each game, and this was one of the few times that he actually got more kills than me. But I don't want you to get too cocky, Dark Elven King. Just remember what happened when I was Free Peoples of Eriador and you were Rohan in that 1v1. But no, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the actual kills. Of course, my Bandit Javelin's doing definitely the best, getting close to 100 kills. And some of the other units did okay. Got around... Those actually Wooden Hunters didn't do too terrible. And the Cardinal Footmen didn't do too shabby either for what they were. Dark Elven King, pretty good all the way around. Looks like his bandits actually got quite a lot of kills. Woodland Hunters did well, and his Bandit Javelins did well. Yeah, so it was definitely a very fun, interesting battle. So big thank you to all the players involved. Also, you may be wondering where the next part in the War of the Elves versus Dwarves is. I've actually been trying to get the second part of it for like the past couple weeks, but it's just been really, really weird. Most of the time, because the next part is elves, the Elven Alliance or whatever, defending a siege against the dwarves. But for whatever reason, the elves keep getting like really wrecked, like terribly, terribly bad. And I don't really want to upload a video where it's like 50% allies, like for the dwarves, to 100% of the elves dead. That just really doesn't seem like that'd be very entertaining to watch. So I'm just trying to get it out, so all I'm gonna have to do is just ask for your guys' patience for a little while longer for that to come out. Also, this is just kind of a filler video just until I can come out with the next big one, which hopefully will come out hopefully during the weekend. I want to do a historical battle of Osgiliath in the Third Age, but unfortunately you can't actually set the time to like evening. I don't want to do it at night really, because you won't be able to see anything, but evening I think would be kind of, or sunset or something would be kind of cool to do, because you could actually see, and it kind of has like that vibe of like being at night like it was in the books and movies. So I might have to wait a little while on that. But also, if you guys have any other suggestions on battles you want me to do, just go ahead and put it in the comments down below. So yeah, that pretty much concludes this video. So please comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, just go ahead and dislike it, I guess, or comment why you didn't like it. So yeah, that's all for now. Farewell wherever you fare, till your eyes receive you at your journey's end.